Hello everybody, this is the grade 12 theory lesson. This is unit 4B, and today's topic is harmonic analysis and chord progression. I'm actually going to be breaking this lesson up into two videos today, so we're just going to focus on the harmonic analysis in this part 1 segment. The reason being, it takes a bit of time for me to draw these examples out on the board, and I don't want to waste people's time just sitting watching me do all of that. So, and no, I'm not going to make any bonus footage, extended outtakes later. So anyways, so today we're going to look at harmonic analysis to start. So to analyze a classical 4-part chorale harmonically, what we're doing is seeing the relationship of the chords to the tonality of the piece. And chords can be in any inversion, which is indicated with Roman numerals, as usual. And then there's some steps to follow when we're looking at how to analyze a harmonic piece of music. So, or music from a harmonic sense. So the first step is to determine the key. And obviously this can be either a major or a minor situation. And so there's a bunch of clues and questions you should be asking yourself. First clues, look at the beginning and the ending chords and the melody and see what's taking place there. The other questions to ask are the melody and the bass part of a tonic or a dominant chord? Do the final chords fit a cadence pattern, and are there any raised leading notes indicating a minor key? So at a glance at this example, we have two options we can go with. We can go with B flat major, or we can go with G minor. But in order to get a more definitive answer, we need to look at some of the specifics. So we do have some raised notes, and just for a moment, if we imagine that we're in the key of G minor, F sharp would be the 7th note, and that would be raised by a semitone. So far looking like G minor, but let's see if we can find some other information. The tonic chord, what's that? Well, let's look at the notes. We have a G, a G, a D, a B, and a D rather. So again, that would be pretty indicative of a tonic chord in G minor, the 1 chord. So far it looks like we're pretty much going to settle on G minor. We can double check at the end. We've got a D, we've got an F sharp, we've got a low A, and we've got a D as well. So that's not, again, that's not fitting the tonic, but that does look like a dominant chord, and we're going to analyze that and determine what's happening. And then the last thing we're going to do is determine what cadences are taking place. So basically what we've done, step 2 would be writing the diatonic triads for the key. So we're going to go with the key of G minor. We settled that. So G minor is the key. So now we're going to be analyzing this piece based on that. So the steps for determining the triads of the key, this needs to be done either in your mind or on paper. If you don't have the diatonic triads clearly internalized, make sure to complete this step on a rough piece of paper. Okay, so you should have a working understanding of what the triads are in relation to the key. The next thing will be to spell the chords and to name the chords. So take the time to write this out on paper if you must. Root position chords have no Roman numerals below them, and inversions will have a bigger bass underneath the chord as per usual. So, and then lastly we're going to mark the cadences. So in the key of G minor, we're going to go through each of the notes and we're going to be labeling them as we go. So we determined that the first one, again, I'm going to go in vertical alignment here, and I might get a bit tight on space. So actually, I think I will. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase this. So G, G, B, and D. And if I can rearrange those notes to fit a root position triad to determine what I'm looking at, we will do that. And this one happens to be, even though it's repeated, G in this case, G, B, and D. So this one, again, we've determined to be the tonic chord for G minor. Let's look at the next series of notes. G, we have a B flat, a D, and a G. Again, oh, and I did make that mistake. Oh, Mr. Benning, yeah. Make sure the B flat. So G, B flat, and D. Again, it's tonic triad. We've got it in root position because, right, when we rearrange our notes, G, B flat, D, it's in the same position. We still have root being G, so in this case it's still the tonic triad still in root position. Let's look at the next sets of notes. We have an F sharp, we have an A, we have a D, and a C. Remember that F sharp needs to be raised relative to the key for G minor, D, and an A on top of that. I think I said C, I meant A. F sharp, A, D, A. So if we rearrange those notes, can we do it to have a triad in root position? The answer is yes. D, F sharp, and A. D, F sharp, and A would be the dominant. However, the arrangement of these notes, we've got the third in the bass, so this one's the dominant triad still, but we are in first inversion because we have an F sharp as the bass note. Next sets of notes, I have G, G, D, and B flat. D and B flat. And again, this is a tonic triad. G, B flat, D would be our sequence. Even though these notes don't follow the rest of the pattern, we still have the tonic of that triad as the root note. So this one's still in root position. Let's look at the next set of triads. I know I'm getting a bit condensed here, but again, it's just trying to squeeze it all in the frame here. So where do we leave off? So D, F sharp, D, and A. And D, F sharp, and A would be the triad order sequence for a dominant, so it's still root position. A couple more to go. Let's have a look at the next one. We have an E flat, we have a G, right? E flat, G, we've got a B flat, and then we've got another G. And if we rearrange those into a pattern, which they are, or a root position order, which they already are in this case, E flat, G, B flat, that is the submedian, also going to be minor in this case. And then we look at the next couple of notes, so C, C, E flat, and G. Just going to make that a little smaller, C, C, E flat, not G, and A rather. Making sure I drew that correctly. I did. Okay, so that one is, again, let's rearrange these notes. A, E flat, and C would be the correct order. But we don't have that. We've got no, sorry, we do have that. I apologize. A, C, C, E, and A flat. So this one is actually going to be the 2 chord. And no, actually, you know what, guys? That is an inversion of that triad. Yeah, we should have that as a different inversion. So this one has the third. So this is actually in first inversion in that case. And then we've got D, A, D, F sharp. So that's actually a mistake in your learning guide. That one should be written in first inversion. We've got our dominants, so I'm just getting ahead of myself here, D, A, D, and F sharp. D, F sharp, and A, root position, which we have the root note being in that correct spot. And then at the end here, we've got a D, F sharp, and A, and another D. Which, if we rearrange those, D, F sharp, A, also dominant, and that one's in root position. So then in your guide, there's a question, and it's asking you for a space in your below that question. It's asking to determine what type of a cadence we're looking at. And so now that we've analyzed the harmonic content of what this chorale is, and we've determined what the chords are, we can go through this, and we see that, well, we're ending on a dominant, and there really is only one option for a type of a cadence that ends on a dominant. Remember, that was the third in the series or the sequence that's taking place. So we have our perfect cadences going from 5 to 1. Our plagal going from 4 to 1. We have our imperfect cadence, which looks like what in this case, and that's traveling from a 1, a 2, or a 4 going up to the 5. We have our deceptive cadences going up to the 6th, or another unexpected chord. We don't have that. It's a dominant. So this one is actually an imperfect cadence. And even if you go back to this chord here, it's still not enough to determine what's taking place. You've got to go back a little step further. You know you're moving from a chord going to the dominant. So it's going to be obviously something different, but moving to the dominant is going to tell us we're keeping at an imperfect cadence. So harmonic progression, it's important to distinguish between harmonic progression and diatonic triads. Diatonic triads, the basic building blocks of the harmonic content in a key and in a scale succession. So those are the basic things, and we're going to look at that in part 2. And then the last thing, harmonic progression, is the intentional reordering of the basic harmony into a progression. So stay tuned, part 2 will be here in just a minute.